You've probably heard a ton of things about two different community platforms, Circle and Skool. Some good and some not so good. And so today I want to break through the myths and talk about what the real differences are between these two platforms and help you decide which one is for you. So, hi, I am Carrie Melissa Jones. I am a community consultant and a founder myself of a community membership, and I help organizations and leaders create thriving and meaningfully engaged communities. Today, I'm going to address the biggest criticisms, the biggest elephants in the room that people have about both Circle and about Skool, and talk about the main feature by main feature, which ones have the advantages over the other ones. So, if you want a detailed implementation guide for setting up your community platform, I have that for you in the description of this video and in the pinned comment below this YouTube video. I highly recommend that you check that out. It is specifically for Circle, but that implementation guide is going to be the same in terms of what you need to be paying attention to for any kind of platform. So take a look at that. It's totally free, and that can help you to make some major moves forward as you start to build your own membership or online community. So you came here for the goods about Circle versus Skool. Let's talk about it. Number one, the first thing I want to talk about is the positioning of these two platforms, because they are positioned very differently in the marketplace. And so for you as an entrepreneur or somebody working in-house, you might be coming at this from your own angle, and you need to know who they're really positioned for to make the strongest decision for yourself. So I am not a hater in any of this. Before I jump into this, I just want to say this. I'm a realist. And if you really want the breakdown of the goods in terms of how these two platforms are deeply positioned differently, because they really are, I highly recommend checking out Bree Lever's comparison video on Circle versus Skool. She talks about some of the things that Circle is leaning on, some of the things that Skool is leaning on. But I'm going to talk to you about the things that are most important for you right now in your decision. So for Skool, the overarching brand that I have picked up on over getting their ads, doing a ton of research in the process of creating this video, is that the dominant messaging of the platform is, we will make you rich. We will make you rich. And I think you need to be extremely careful about that with building a community. Number one, because building a community or building a membership is not a get rich quick scheme. If you're thinking about it like that, I really want to caution you from doing this at all, because you need to be in the spirit of service if you're going to build a meaningful and sustainable online community. If you want to create a multi-level marketing scheme or something else, that's not a community. Don't call it that. Call it a repository for past trainings or a bunch of stuff that I'm putting into a space. Don't call it that. But don't call it a community, okay? The other thing is that they're really positioning themselves with what I'll call here, lovingly, bro influencers. You got a lot of bro influencers going on and talking about Skool, and you just really want to be careful who you are associating your brand with, because Skool makes it really, really, they put their brand on your brand when you start building your community. They promote themselves, they promote other Skool communities on top of your community. So it's really important that you understand that when you join Skool, you are in their ecosystem, and you might not want to be. So be careful about that. I'm going to show you what I've been seeing. So I've been doing research for several months in preparation for this video, and I want to show you what I've been seeing from Skool in terms of their ads and the ways that they are talking about what they offer. So these are some of the ads that I've been seeing after following Skool on Instagram and following more of their work. They're starting to serve me ads at a crazy pace. I'm getting so many ads for their stuff, which is like good for them, lots of ad targeting, but also part of this kind of get rich quick and kind of like MLM feeling, pyramid scheme feeling situation that I am just this dominant feeling of the brand that I'm getting. So here on the left is an example of a really simple ad, like what the ad and the way that it is actually created, like the simplicity of it. And it looks like, anybody could have created this mock-up here. It's part of this move fast kind of methodology and keeping things simple. Okay. The other thing that I'm noticing is, again, a lot of emphasis on what people are earning and how much money they are making. And then you're seeing a lot of I don't know if they're paying these influencers or not. I don't have transparency into that, but a lot of these influencers coming in and launching on Skool and then creating these videos talking about how much they like Skool, which is really interesting. And the way that you see them building these memberships that they're building is like, just a ton of stuff that they have created before, kind of put into a new space. Now, I'm not part of Arlen Hamilton's community, so I don't know what it looks like. But based on this here, it looks like, previous challenges and trainings and things like that. And then you're seeing this is actually not Skool, but actually an ads company that is telling you to build on Skool. They're saying run ads to your Skool community. You can build and you create this much more wealth or more money for yourself. And so there's just a huge emphasis on putting a lot of stuff, doing things that make you money, and moving as fast as you possibly can. It's also why the platform looks so simple, which might be appealing to you if you're really overwhelmed by the technology. So that is Skool. I want to talk next about Circle and their positioning in the market. So Circle is positioned as a lot more corporate, a lot more clean, a lot more polished in what they're doing. Now, that might not be your brand, so that might not be the right fit for you. You're still going to see a lot of influencer culture around Circle. It's just the kinds of influencers that they are promoting are much less influencers that are focused on making you money, but rather on having some kind of impact. This is not true across the board 100%, but it's who you see them touting inside of more of their marketing materials. And so this kind of polish also you can see inside of their ads as well. So these are two examples of Circle ads. I get served them a lot less than I get served Skool ads. But also you're seeing more of this like kind of clean polished. They go with this blue color, which is like classic tech versus the Skool like crazy color scheme from like Paint in 1999, which we love, by the way. But you're seeing just a lot more of this polish and the kinds of creators that they are bringing in here, including one, Priya Parker, who is a highly respected influencer, and the author of The Art of Gathering is someone that they partner with. So they're really partnering with these folks who, Priya does a lot of work with the New York Times, and they're really going for this like more premium and polished kind of customer. It's not to say that a premium polished customer couldn't use Skool, but it's certainly not who they are targeting here. So the other things that you're seeing is less of a focus on money, although you're still seeing them talking about saving people money with their subscriptions, but it's really not about like build your membership and make a ton of money. It's something that they do talk about inside of the Circle community, but it's not something that they are selling the platform around. So I think that's really important for you to pay attention to, because when you become a customer of one of these platforms, you're also invited to be in their communities, and you're going to need to go to those communities to problem solve and work through and see use cases and how others are doing things. And so who do you want to surround yourself with? That's totally up to you. The next thing that I want to talk about is an extension of this positioning, which you see right away during the sign up flows of each platform. So I'm going to show you what it looks like on Skool first, and then I'll show you what it looks like on Circle. And there's a real big elephant in the room that I need to tell you about that has been irking me as I do this research for today's video. So what you're seeing here is a Skool community. And when I go in to actually sign up for my own community, and I had just created a tester for the purposes of creating this video for you today, is I get asked to reactivate my community. I had created a test account and started to actually set things up as I was beginning to test for this video. Full disclosure here, I have a community that runs on Circle because that's what works for me and my community. I do not have one for Skool, so I was doing lots of testing and joining other folks' communities for this work. So when I go in to try to set up my own community and I try to reactivate, I'm asked for my credit card. There's actually no terms of service here, which is really a big red flag. You don't know what their terms of service are. So I would have to actually go in and re-sign up, and then maybe I could find their terms of service. Big no there. So that's number one. Number two, if I actually go in, let's say I go into and I try to join the Discover communities, and I try to join the Skool community. So they have a community for schoolers, they call them, their users. If I try to join this, I'm prompted to actually go in and see, in order to join the group, I have to have a community here, create a community. And then when I go into create a community, I'm taken to this page. This is the page that you will likely see. It might look different. This might be a year from now. But when you hit create your community, it takes you to two options. Right now, as of this recording, $9 a month hobby plan, $99 a month pro. But here's the big elephant in the room, red flag that has been irking me for quite some time, which is that these numbers are not actually, I haven't checked all of them, but I know for a fact Circle does not charge 7% transaction fees on their community. They just don't. So I don't know where these numbers are coming from. And that makes me really, really nervous, because if this isn't honest, what else isn't either? So that's Skool. When we talk about Circle and signing up for Circle, here's what that's going to look like. I click create a free trial. It takes me through creating my name and my URL. I hit next. I tell it my annual revenue. It starts asking me some questions, tell it what I want. This is actually helping you to start building up the templates for your community as you get started. And then it actually starts to create my community for me. So I didn't take it this far inside of Skool because I didn't want to give it my credit card information. But I would also need to go in here and make sure that if it did ask for my credit card, that I take that out before the free trial goes forward. I also, in this process, did not see Circle's terms of service. So another red flag for both of them. Want to make sure that you read these. You also want to make sure that you're really clear in those terms of service who owns the data of your community. It is important that you own your community's data, that the platform is not then using that data to mine information and then going to be able to sell it later. Big no. Okay. And I think that's something that most people are ignoring. So pay attention to that inside of your terms of service before you go forward with any plan. So in summary, Skool comes right out the gate with some of this multi-level marketing, pyramid scheme kind of stuff and conversation all about revenue. Circle is more of this kind of polished and enterprise corporate kind of feel. So pick the one that makes the most sense for you in terms of the branding and the positioning, because it will impact, your members will see the platform that you are on at different points. Now, signing up is easy. Canceling can be harder. So make sure that as you are testing, be really careful about what data you're putting in there, reading your terms of service, and making sure that you cancel before your free trial if you don't want to be charged right away. The next topic that we must cover are courses. Courses are the thing that many membership builders are wanting to know. What is the best platform for my courses? So I'm going to show you how this looks on Skool through the lens of one of their communities. This is actually kind of an ambassador for Skool. It's called the Goosify community. And you can see inside of his community that there is a classroom. So this is what courses look like on Skool. And so we start with, in this case, you can lock these based on ways that people are based on whether people completed courses in the past. You can also make them standalones inside of Skool, or you can make them open to everybody free, or open just to paying members at specific tiers. Here's an example of what a quick text-only lesson looks like on the Skool platform. So you can see text only, very simple. And then we break down more text. But you can also embed videos here and embed audio as well, just like you can inside of Circle as well. So this is what courses look like on Skool. Inside of Circle, I'm going to take you to the actual Circle Academy so that you can see courses fully built out. So they're a lot more robust on Circle in terms of what you can create. This is what the platform looks like. Obviously, you can see all of the modules and all the lessons right here. You can go through, click complete lesson. You can do both video, audio, and other kinds of media inside of your course. And then you can link out and embed PDFs, embed other kinds of documents inside of the course. There's also the option for comments. You can look at comments here there's actually comments on this video, and you can also bookmark the lesson as a student. So again, Skool is really leveraging simplicity here. The simplicity of the classroom in this particular course is very simple. But they're leveraging that kind of simplicity so that if you want to just get started as quickly as possible, you can start right away. With Circle, it's going to take you longer to actually set up some of your courses. But in the end, it's a lot more flexible. So that is the main difference between the different platforms in terms of courses. Next, I want to talk about members. What does it look like for members to have conversations with one another? That's what memberships and communities are all about, is the conversation. So what does that actually look, sound, and feel like on each one of these platforms? Let's start out with Skool and take a look at what their conversation area looks like, because it is quite different. The entire structure of it is actually fundamentally different than Circle's. There is one feed of activity inside of a Skool community, one feed. So the ways in which people interact are all centralized in this one area right here. So all conversation is happening, and we're not sending people to different groups, but what they can do to actually start to segment conversation is through topics. So all this is doing is asking, when you're creating that content, you create a tag on it, and then it's going to filter by those posts. So this is, a lot of creators say to me, well, I switched to Skool after being on Circle, or I switched to Skool after being on Mighty Networks, and there's a lot more engagement there. For a lot of these folks, it's because they started out way too complicated on these platforms like Circle and Mighty. And so Skool forced them into this kind of simplicity, and it centralized the communication. You don't have to have a really complex build on any platform that you build on. So if you're worried that the complexity of these platforms is what's going to stop engagement, then I highly recommend that you focus on simplifying. And I've got a video that's going to help you to think about what you need to consider for your launch. And simplicity, simplicity, simplicity is always the default that I recommend here. So this is the school view. Now, what does the Circle view look like? So inside of Circle, it looks quite different. It is actually broken down into groups. So there is one main feed that will aggregate everything, and you can decide what goes in or out of that aggregation. So if you don't want, for example, any posts inside of this space to go in there, you can hold that back. There's a lot more customization you can do, but really all the conversation is happening inside of these discussion areas, as well as you can have areas that are not discussion based that are more like resource libraries or courses. So this is where all the discussion is going to happen. And you can see how if you have a lot of different spaces here, you're going to be segmenting conversation. It's going to feel like in some of these spaces that engagement is lower. The truth is that it's probably not. It's just that you're sending people in too many different directions, and your onboarding and your overall community design is not simple enough. So this is a major difference in the way that the two platforms are set up. Again, one has a linear feed that aggregates everything, and the other one, you can separate conversation out and have many different discussion spaces. Now I want to talk through live events, because this is something that is absolutely indispensable. If you want to create a thriving membership, you've got to do some kind of live gatherings with your members. So Skool and Circle actually offer pretty similar offerings in terms of live gatherings. Both Skool and Circle now have, you can live stream on both. You can live stream with kind of webinar style, or where everybody can be more like a Zoom call style on both platforms. And Circle is going to have a little bit more capability in terms of recording and then posting those recordings directly to your community and creating the transcriptions and all of that inside of Circle. Although I have a feeling that Skool is not far behind, and they're probably rushing to keep up with Circle as much as they possibly can in terms of their live events. In terms of using Circle, and this is probably also the case for Skool, using their native live streaming software always makes me really, really nervous, because it takes a lot to build a great live streaming software. And so we like to link out to Zoom events, even though we use Circle, because I just know it is way more reliable than Circle is. The uptime on Zoom is required to be much, much higher than Circle. Their standards for that are just way, way higher. So if you have a really large membership, I recommend continuing to leverage things like Zoom. You can really easily link out to them, have the invitations inside of Circle or Skool, but just link out to Zoom calls. I myself don't want to rely on the platforms for that. So when we work with our clients, we almost always stick with Zoom, but we use the invitation and RSVP and calendar functions of both of these platforms. So in terms of the differences between them, they're really not that much different today. And you can schedule events on both. And as can be predicted with Skool, it's a lot more simple. You have just one page where you set up your event and you say, here's the description of it, here's where it's going to happen, here's an image for it. With Circle, it's here's the event that's happening, and then you can create banners, and then you can create descriptions, and then you can link out, and there's a lot more complexity to it. So those are the main differences between these live events. The last thing that I want to talk about here are member profiles and what those look like on each of these platforms, because these are really important features for your community to have these member databases. Most communities have them enabled so that you can see other members in those communities. And so I want you to see what each one of these looks like. The Skool interface is quite simple. So you're going to see here inside of members that it's going to pull up just a really simple member database. This is everything that you can see about members all in one place, mostly just text-based here. You can click into people's profiles, see how they're engaging other communities that they're in, et cetera, et cetera. So that really simple and linear setup is following through here. This is what the member profile looks like inside of Circle. So I've just made it so that only one profile is showing here. But if I wanted to see everybody, I can let this load up here. And if you want to see into profiles and see what they actually look like, you can search by a number of different fields. This is going to help me find people by name. I can then look at my own profile. It's still going to be a really text-based format in terms of what you can ask, but inside of Circle, if you pay for the more premium memberships, you can ask as many profile questions as you'd like. So these can get quite long, and you can decide which of these are admin-only fields and which ones face the entire community. Also, you're seeing here gamification. I'm only seeing this. I have it disabled on our community. I'm only seeing this because I am an admin in this community, and so I can see this. But you could enable this so that other members can see where they stand inside of the community as well. So again, here, the name of the game for Skool is simplicity, pared back, and Circle is about flexibility and customization. You really have to think about, do I want to grow this membership? How for how long? Because if I really am just focused on testing and seeing what works, maybe Skool is right for me, but I want to be really careful, check out their terms of service. I want to really be thinking about not only what I'm going to be doing this year, but in many years to come, because platform migrations are a pain in the booty. You don't want to have to do them. They happen, and it's why our team works on them with many of our clients, but you want to avoid one. So I'm curious to hear from you now. What other features do you want me to compare inside of Circle and Skool? I really talked about just the highest level of the different platform features at this point. I would love to know where you'd like me to dig in deeper, and maybe I'll do a part 2 of this video. And if you're like, okay, I'm going to pick my platform and I want to get set up, or I just want to know what it's going to take for me to get set up, then I recommend that you download the Circle Setup Toolkit that I have linked below. It is specific to Circle, but as I said in the beginning of this video, the things that it asks you to consider, the prep work that it asks you to do, all of that is universal across platforms. So it can help you to prepare for any kind of platform investment. All right, friends, that's it. It's time for you to dig in, to make your decision, and to begin to actually set up your community. I would love to hear what you learned during this video. You can follow me on Instagram at Carrie Melissa Jones. Take a little screenshot of yourself watching this video and let me know what you learned and what questions you still have. I can't wait to hear from you, and good luck.